Good evening. Were you aware that one of the most haunted places in Iowa is located right here in Lynn County? I certainly wasn't. Of course, I'm talking about the legendary 13 Stairs, also known as the Pleasant Ridge Cemetery near Palo, Iowa. Now, I've been going to that area my whole life. I remember driving by that cemetery when I was a small boy with my parents and hunting out there on the public hunting land near there when I was a teenager or young man. I never experienced any hauntings or anything unusual. I didn't think much of it. It wasn't until years later, a few years ago now, while researching some stuff on the internet, I came across that a lot of people had done paranormal investigations at the Pleasant Ridge Cemetery, also known as 13 Stairs because of the 13 stairs you walk up to get into the cemetery. And they had found some interesting things. The investigations turned up pretty much the whole gamut of hauntings, strange sounds and apparitions and floating orbs, people being touched, voices, you name it. And I was pretty surprised to hear that. Now, I have a lot of friends that we like to watch Ghost Hunters and other paranormal investigation shows on TV, so it didn't take us long to figure out we needed to do our own investigation. So after a bit of research as far as what had been done previously and how to go about these paranormal investigations, we spent some time formulating a plan how we would go about the investigation and gathering gear. You know, we got digital cameras, tape recorders, mini tape recorders, and walkie-talkies so that we communicate. And we planned our investigation. We planned it for it was a later part of October. It was a windy night in October, typical fall-like. We gathered at one of my friend's house. That we had a few beers, drank some brats, and had some burgers, and headed out to the cemetery once it got dark. Now, I want to emphasize we did this with the utmost respect to the cemetery. We weren't there to create any havoc. We went in, took some digital images, set up our recorder on a top of a large tombstone, and just sat down at the back of the cemetery. We weren't even in the middle of it, but it's a fairly small cemetery, and we were there for probably a couple of hours anyway. And really, at that point, we kind of thought it was kind of lame. I mean, nothing had happened. It was really surprising how light it was. We could see really well, and really wasn't anything going on. So we decided to gather up our gear and head for home. And it wasn't until we got back and started reviewing our evidence that we began to find some things. The first thing that we noticed is on my digital camera, which held 12 images, and I distinctly remembered taking 12 images. There was only 11. And I know the one that was missing. It was in the middle, wasn't at the beginning or the end, and I remembered the picture and was completely gone. The other really strange thing was one of the photos had some of these light, round orbs, they're called, and I wasn't too conclusive on those. It was kind of, I couldn't say if it could have just been lighting or dust particles or something, but a lot of people think those are spirits. But the most compelling piece of evidence that we turned up was on the recording. In the middle of the recording, there was a point where we were all sitting around having a conversation, so I know everybody was there. I remembered the conversation. Nobody had tampered with the recorder. Right in the middle of the recording, there was a loud sound, and really the only way I could describe it would be a wicked laugh. And when you listen to it, you could tell it wasn't a malfunction of the recorder. It was something that was recorded on the tape. It lasted for several seconds. Highly unusual. None of us had heard anything while we were there. So that was the evidence that we gathered at 13 Stairs. Is it haunted? Is it not haunted? I don't know. It just seems like it was really unusual that in the little amount of time that we spent there that we turned up that amount of evidence. And there's something else there. A feel of another world. Thank you for your attention.